Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Professional Study Day 2021. This is Erin Saladino. I'm your art education supervisor, and I wanted to welcome everybody. I know that we are doing Professional Study Day a little bit different this year, in that you guys are divided up amongst 14 different kind of PLCs across the district. And I want to give a quick shout out to those 14 teacher hosts that were kind of asked, voluntold a little bit to host you all in different regions of the district for our Professional Study Day. So please take just a second to kind of wave or celebrate them in your own way, just for kind of stepping up to the plate and being very vulnerable in that their rooms may not be 100% perfect during pre-planning, but opening up their rooms to all of us today. So we're going to go ahead and do this general session. It is pre-recorded. And it is saved so that way you can kind of go back and reference anything that you might need. But our day is going to be pretty busy. So if we look at what our agenda is for today, we're going to look at our day, systems of support reminders, new and current resources. We have some great news with some new adopted materials that we're going to kind of dig in today. Protocol reminders, budget, the importance of advocacy. We kind of talk about that every single year, and it's very important. Event expectations and updates, and then kind of communication and preparedness reminders as we are now moving into using Teams and Outlook, and also just continuing to use Canvas. So today's agenda, you guys are going to be using this hour of networking, kind of, rubbing elbows a little bit with the PLC peeps that are in your little network at your hub site today. And then my general babbling during this general session. We're going to get a official presentation of our new curriculum from our vendor at the Art of Education University. And then we're going to have some time for you to kind of sign in with your official login information and explore everything that AOEU has to offer. We'll have 1 hour set aside for lunch, so you can venture out someplace close, or you can, bring your lunch. That was kind of a reminder that I had sent out earlier. And then we'll be back for processing our AOEU materials, and we're going to talk a little bit about what this extension plan is and how we're going to use the stuff that's in AOEU for us to meet our district expectations for our art programs. And then we are concluding our day around 3:30 with a survey. So you'll notice that a couple of these elements within our agenda have little asterisks next to them, and those are components that will require you to provide survey responses. And those survey links are provided in the different pages of your module in Canvas for Professional Study Day. And so those are kind of your tickets out the door. But those surveys provide a ton of information and a ton of feedback that is going to help me and our new district resource teacher just to kind of make sure that your needs are met and we get you what you need. So our accountability of our workday. So you guys are meeting in your hub site, so we're not all meeting together. We did that intentionally, partly because we want to make sure that you guys are getting what you need specifically with our new adoption materials, but also that you're getting just your elementary information. We do come together with our middle school and high school peeps a lot, but I think that this year is going to be a very different year as far as new materials and kind of stepping forward after a crazy last year. And I wanted to give you guys the attention specifically that you needed. So in order for you to have accountability for your workday, you need to make sure that you have registered in PDS. If you have not already registered yourself in our professional development system, there is a link within the general information page of PDS in our Canvas course. And then you need to, pay attention and make sure that you're in Canvas when you need to reference anything. But also the feedback from the surveys that I had mentioned is going to become one of your tickets out the door, as well as a final submission of your extension plan. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Your points, once you have done all of that and you have turned in everything you need for the day, your points will be put in PDS probably within the next couple of weeks. and then you can complete your evaluation, and then those points can be added to your in-service record. There's going to be a ton of information that we are going to be sharing throughout the day. And so it's also important that once you leave for lunch, when you come back, that you also sign in. And so just like your students, participation is an expectation for today. So let's talk about a quick reminder of your systems of support and other ways that the district offers or the community offers to help your program grow. So these are just some quick reminders of district level support. I am taking on the role of art and theater supervisor. And these are just a couple of things that I provide, just so you know what things to come to me to ask for help for, as opposed to going to your district site or HR. So I am here for curriculum support. So I'm here to provide you with your curriculum maps and your course information, your Canvas resource course upkeep. So your elementary art ed resources and that art ed resources and tools courses that have a ton of information in there. As you have information that you want to put in there, send it my way and I'll put it in there. Other than that, I'm making sure that anything that is district appropriate is also put in there for your reference. I provide opportunities for professional development based off of present resources, and we'll talk about professional development in a couple of slides from now. Equipment and material support as far as adopted materials, like helping you out if there's an issue with your Art of Education University login information, kiln repair, moving equipment, stuff like that. Event organization and communication. So I will send out, calls for work to let you know of event information. When it comes time for our elementary bundle of 3, and you're sending all that information, all the student artwork to me in those padded envelopes. That's a lot of what I do also, which is processing those event materials. I also take on the responsibility of being a liaison and support at the site level for art programs. Know your rights, and we'll talk a little bit about this later on when it comes to advocacy. And I can certainly be an advocate for you, like that is one of the hats that I wear. But please make sure that you are also advocating for yourself, and then we're kind of going through that chain of command of you advocating first, and then if things aren't fixed, then you can certainly reach out to me. You can also reach out to me for advice on how to approach your site administration to advocate for yourself first. District representation of art programs amongst all major stakeholders. That is another hat that I wear, in that I consider myself the representation of art at the district level and at the community level when it comes to representing the district at our state conferences and even nationally. So aside from helping you with getting you what your students need in order for you to be a strong educator and the materials and equipment that you need in order for your program to run, I am also a kind of a liaison amongst the community and our district. So super exciting news. Jane Murray was an absolute legend in her district, and she retired in March of this past year. And so we kind of had a gap in support in my office. So it was a lot on my shoulders, and we were so lucky that the district took on consideration of refilling the district resource position, or the DRT, for art and theater. And so that was advertised over the summer, and Kylie Hingle from Plant City High School kind of stepped up to the plate. And she is absolutely amazing. I'm really excited to be able to kind of work with her and kind of, shove off a little bit of what was on my shoulders onto Kylie. Kylie has elementary art experience and high school art experience, as well as theater knowledge, which is even better. And so some of the things that you can kind of reach out to Kylie about are kind of noted here on this slide. She also is going to be reaching out to all of our new educators, and also educators that may be struggling in something, maybe classroom management, or curriculum writing, or lesson planning, or creating pacing guides. She provides best practices, so there may be times where she is coming out to just kind of sit in a corner and check out and see what kind of fabulous things you're doing, and provide any non-evaluative feedback. because in the end, we are all here just to get stronger for our students. She analyzes educator needs and is going to help build professional development opportunities. She assists in communication of that event information. So if you're not getting any information from me, like those calls for work or reminders to turn in something like a signed form or whatever, you may be getting that from Kylie. Provide follow-up reminders for missing work, student art preparation for district events. So Kylie is going to be one of those people that is going to be printing out labels to making sure that everything is spelled correctly as much as she can, and then attaching labels to tons of pieces of artwork and getting them ready for some of our events. A collection and distribution of mailed work. And she will also be helping with installation of some pieces. So I'm really excited to have Kylie kind of, step in and step up to the plate. It is not an easy job, but it will be kind of taking a little bit of a load off of my shoulders. And I feel really, really positive that she is somebody that is coming to the table with a ton of knowledge as a partner. Carol Vick, for anybody that is not familiar with our HCPS arts and education programs, Carol Vick is wonderful. Our district has had a partnership with the Arts Council for many, many years, and Carol Vick worked for the Arts Council, but within the past couple of years, we've kind of brought her in-house. And Carol provides tons of opportunities with visiting artists, art, music, dance, illustrators, writers, and she kind of is a community. She's a network in herself, and that she is constantly knowing who's coming to visit, who's out there, and bringing those opportunities into our classrooms. She also has many opportunities for field trips. And so, she has a specific link that you can kind of go through and see, what kind of artists are available, almost like a catalog. And that link is provided in the, just down below this link in your Canvas course under general information. So if you see something in there that is interesting to you, please feel free to reach out to Carol Vick. She's in our district Outlook email, but then also share that information with your administrators. Many times, because she is so wonderful for advocating for our programs, she is a part of the budget process when we discuss budget in the district and can gather money and supplies and support for these programs through our district budget, but then also through grants. So if you're interested in something, this isn't something that may necessarily be out of your pocket or your school's pocket, but something that she can provide for free. So reach out to Carol if you are interested. All right, so don't forget our Canvas resources. Last year, we kind of got thrown into Canvas, and not only were we just learning the basics of navigation, but we were also kind of forced to do a ton of building on our own. And this year, while Canvas is definitely still a great resource for you to use as a presentation and contact information for parents and for families and students, for those students that, who knows what this year is going to look like as far as if we have a kid that's out sick, that they can kind of contact you and communicate through you. So just because we do not have an e-learning platform right now through the district, and our students are either doing Hillsborough Virtual School or they are coming to brick and mortar, that doesn't mean we want to completely forget Canvas. Canvas is still a great tool. And for many of you that had built a ton of our lessons, your lessons in Canvas, or the year's worth of 1st through 5th grade lesson plans that are in the Canvas Commons, you can still use those as presentation tools and project them in the classroom. So just because we are not strictly in an e-learning environment, that doesn't mean we need to completely let go of Canvas. And then also just remember that we have a ton of Canvas resources of our own through our elementary art ed course and our art ed resources and tools. A couple of things that I just want to remind you, because we've received a lot of feedback after we had a ton of amazing teachers that helped to write some of those lessons that are a year's worth of accumulation in Canvas Commons, is that these lesson plans, just like any other lesson plans that we find out there in the internet, is that you have to take in mind that you have to adapt and format and modify those lessons. any lesson that is created by somebody else other than you, working with students that are not other than yours, and having the teaching style other than you, should be modified, and they should be adapted and formatted to meet your environment and your kiddos and their demographics and their needs. So as you find these lessons that are either in Commons or you're building your own or you're finding them elsewhere, make sure that you always keep in mind that nothing is cookie cutter, and you should be kind of adapting and modifying those for your specific classroom. This is just a quick reminder to continue to use those resources in Canvas. And also, if you have something that you want to share, please reach out to Kylie Hingle or to myself, and we can certainly add your information to our archived inspirations. All right, so our professional learning communities, our PLCs, our organization manager is Jenny Martin from Deer Park Elementary. Again, another amazing superstar that kind of steps up to the plate and takes on responsibilities outside of her very, very busy schedule over at Deer Park. And so our PLCs are offered monthly, and there's several different opportunities for you guys to kind of absorb and take on information that other colleagues are experiencing at their schools. You never know whether you're going to run into somebody at a PLC that has very similar demographics of students or similar teaching styles or has the same questions that you have. So these PLCs are usually offered around 12 different locations across the district. So that way you don't have to kind of run from one side of the district to the other just to make it in time. Last year, because we were kind of put in a very virtual setting, our PLCs were virtual. And we ended up getting a lot more participation just because, a lot of our teachers have families or they have commitments they have to do right after school. So the times that they weren't able to participate in person, they could easily kind of log on to Zoom or into Teams and kind of, network that way with their PLC peeps. So I am working with Jenny, and she's going to work with our PLC teachers that voluntarily offer their time to provide professional development that way, and see if we can look at those opportunities. Another thing I want to remind you is that if you participate in PLCs and you sign in and you provide your LAWSN number every time that you sign in with one of our PLC teachers, our hosts, at the end of the school year, those are added together and they are put into our professional development system to where you can get in-service points for it. So, if you are interested in service points and you would like to, participate in PLCs and be an active member of your PLC community, then keep an eye out for communication that's coming our way through Teams about what our PLCs will look like this year. So when we talk about PLCs, I want to kind of dive into really quick our PD opportunities that we offer throughout the district. So there's three different opportunities that you have to gather in-service points. Because remember, you need 120 in order to, recertify every so many years for your certification. And so I want to make clear, because I know that there's been some feedback of, well, we don't have a ton of our professional development in our district. And so I want to address that really quick, because I think that the more we know about our whys, I think that it's better understood and we can kind of work together for some troubleshooting and some problem solving. So our PD in the district is pretty much offered when we have funding that is available to pay experts to present. So if we have somebody that's outside of the district that is an expert at something, we want to kind of have them come and travel and do a presentation, that we have funds that are available to pay them. That is a kind of a hit or miss, and it's all about timing too, and when to ask for that funding. And whether we have experts that are also willing to come and share their knowledge. We have experts in the community members that want to donate their time and their expertise. So if we don't have that funding, do we have people that are willing to volunteer their expertise? Teachers that present training suggestions with an area of need and presents to peers. So we have teachers that step up to the plate and want to volunteer their time to kind of, offer their expertise in official training. I will tell you that because I understand that our teachers' time is very valuable and your expertise is also very valuable, I would never assume that a teacher would volunteer their time. It is lovely if you would like to, but it is not an expectation. And so I would like to kind of, add that that caveat up to that first bullet point of whether we have funding available to pay teachers for their time and their expertise to offer official trainings to their colleagues. And then also, if we don't have funding to pay for experts or for educators, or we don't have experts that want to donate their time, then that kind of does fall on the shoulders of the supervisor to create professional development based on teacher feedback and needs and offers. And then we also I have to present that information. The last thing that I do want to mention about district prepared art professional development is that there have been a couple of times where that last bullet, we have gone through the rigor of creating and building and providing, and then nobody shows up. So that last bullet point really has to, kind of be reconsidered based on the loudness of certain needs and specific needs. So if we don't have art PD that is offered in the district, there are plenty of opportunities outside of the district that you might be interested in. If you are part of FAEA, the Florida Art Education Association, they offer tons of workshops, especially over the summer, that if you're a member, some of them are free, some of them are $25. But then also there are online opportunities. There are our partnerships with community members like the Tampa Museum of Art, which we'll talk about in just a second. But a couple of things that you need to think about when you are going out into the world to, kind of collect professional development experience and then bring it back to the district with a request for it to be approved for in-service points. Number one, the experience must be 3 hours or more. And those 3 hours cannot be anything like networking or registering or signing in or lunch. It has to be legit learning time. You must complete a request for in-service form, and this form is found in the Art Ed forms folder in the Art Ed resources and tools. And you must include proof of registration, so like an email that shows that you're registered or a certificate of participation, and an agenda with itemizing time. And that's where the time needs to show that, a 3-hour chunk didn't include 5 minutes of learning and then an hour and a half of networking. So this information these are not my rules. They are rules from our professional development department within the district in compliance with state with state rules for the Florida Department of Education. So if you have any questions about wanting to count college courses or community center experiences or online experiences, I'm going to just kind of direct you into the Art Ed resources and tools, and I'm clicking on professional development, the professional development button. There's more information there. Outside the box, district offered PD, and this is kind of where we don't have art specific PD that's offered in the district. Then think outside the box. What can you glean from other content areas, whether it's classroom management, teaching with poverty in mind? There were a number of times where I took language arts trainings or math trainings and then kind of thought outside the box and made connections of how I could use those strategies or that thought process in my own art room. So if you are down to the wire and you only have a couple of in-service points left and you're, want to kind of show that cross-curricular aspect of your lesson planning, by all means, think outside the box and take something that's outside your content area. We do have an opportunity that's coming up. So if you want to mark your calendar on August 19th from 5 to 8, the lovely ladies over at the Tampa Museum of Art are offering our fall teacher preview. And for anybody that did not participate in this in the past, it is a wonderful opportunity for you to show up, listen briefly to what the museum, the education department has to offer us as teachers as far as field trips go, and even virtual experiences now. And then you also have the opportunity to kind of experience the new and the current collections that they have in the museum. So if you are interested in that, that will be available very soon for registration in our PDS system. I have a really quick note over here on the right-hand side of the screen in that when you guys kind of fill out your request forms and for that middle chunk where you're doing outside district PD, you want to make sure that you keep a copy of your form and all of your kind of like supporting artifacts before you send it off to the PD department to be signed, because you're going to have your school administrator sign it and no longer comes directly to the supervisor. But please, please, please keep a copy, only in case something happens and it gets lost in district mail or for whatever reason, that you do have a copy. But no copies will be kept downtown in the supervisor's office. So if you have any other questions about professional development, please skip on over to that Art Ed resources and tools in Canvas, and there's a ton of information there. All right, so our adopted materials. So for the past several years, we have had access to Davis Digital. And when we, after so many years of kind of using any kind of adopted resource, we really look at data. We look at usage data and we check out, whether we have teachers that are actually using the materials that we're provided because our district is paying for them, and whether it is something that we want to kind of continue on with, or if nobody is using it, then we kind of want to make sure we're looking for something that people will actually use. So currently, we still have one more year left. We kind of intentionally did a little bit of an overlap here to make sure that you had 1 year of as many resources as possible. And so all of you for elementary still have access to your Davis Digital account. And if you have any questions about that, you can certainly reach out to myself or to Kylie. But then also, we now have a 2-year contract with the Art of Education University and their Flex program. So we have 2 years contract with them, and they are every month they add to their Flex program. So this is kind of like with lesson plans and artist biographies and resources, assessments, printables, tons of different wonderful things that we're going to learn about today with our school success person that they have assigned to us, and she's wonderful. But also, we're going to kind of learn today how to take that information and process it to make sure that our district is getting our district expectations through the lesson plans that they are providing. We're still continuing talking about our systems of support, and the Hillsborough Art Education Association is our local art education association. So we have Hillsborough, HAEA, and then the next slide is FAEA, the Florida Art Education Association. And we have a wonderful group of members that have stepped up to the plate to kind of volunteer their time as officers. And just a number of different ways that they are kind of providing and supporting you as art educators. So we don't want to consider ourselves to be just synonymous with our programs and with our students, but also as lifelong learners and kind of, gathering strength and growth in other ways and, communicating with colleagues that are like-minded. And HAEA certainly provides those opportunities along with many grants and even a chance to kind of, go, branch out and experience opportunities like at the state conference. So I will definitely share more information from HAEA once they provide it to me. They are interested in kind of providing a little blip of a video, kind of talking about what it is that they do and introducing some of their key players. And then I will also make sure that within that, the link next to it is the link for the your annual membership, if you're interested. So as mentioned just now, we have HAEA, which is Hillsborough Art Education Association, and then we have also FAEA. And this is our State Art Education Association. Membership dues are only $45, and usually every year we have some kind of a conference, and it kind of moves around the state of Florida. This year it's in Orlando, and I believe that the conference fee is like $125. You can, go there, and if you have friends that are in Orlando, you can hang with them and then go, so you don't have to pay for a hotel. You can drive and kind of go for the day. You can certainly stay at a hotel if you'd like to. It is in mid-October, I believe. But it is just an amazing opportunity to kind of network and feel like you have found your tribe of art educators. And so if you are interested, I strongly encourage you to kind of check out the FAEA website and consider being a member, also because they do provide a ton of professional development experiences that you can ask for in-service points for. So if at this point, that one of the best ways for you to kind of gather art-specific PD is definitely through FAEA. Hillsborough Education Foundation is our local support system, I would like to say. They are wonderful. Not only do they provide college scholarships for students, they provide support for educators. They have many grants that you can apply for. I remember when I was in the classroom, I applied for technology grants through them. I applied for field trip experiences through them. They are so wonderful, and I know that they support all aspects of our district, but they have kind of this sweet spot for arts and culture. So if you are interested in looking into see what Hillsborough Education Foundation has to offer, please check out their website. Also, they do have a free teacher store. And the free teacher store, it is kind of like this treasure trove of you never really know what's going to be there. If you're in a Title I school, you get one free trip a month where you show up, and they give you, you can pick up to 10 items on your list, but an item could be like 20 glue sticks. And then you still have 9 more items on your list that you could get. But it's kind of all based on community donations. So, sometimes you can show up and there's a million different kind of cool picture frames that you could kind of revamp for your students, or canvases, or folders, glue sticks, colored pencils, those little like kind of zip bags that you could have students use to keep materials in. If you are a non-Title I school, you get one trip free per month after you kind of volunteer 3 hours to kind of hang out and kind of help man the free store. So you go in, you do your 3 hours, and then you kind of hang out and you do your shopping. So I definitely suggest looking into Hillsborough Education Foundation if you haven't already done that, for extra support. All right, so let's have a quick talk about budget and materials. Not much has changed since last year in regards to our board approved items. So each 1st through 5th grade student that you service is provided $3.25 per student per year. Okay, so that $3.25 is not provided for kindergarten. And to be honest, a lot of you guys are no longer teaching kindergarten due to kind of those units and allocations, which we'll talk about briefly in a couple minutes. But remember that based on the language that is within the board meeting information, and this is from last year, but it's the same wording for this year as well, is that technically your school can withhold up to 10% of that funding. There's a lot of logistics that have kind of gone into this, and this is currently where we stand with the district. And we have many school administrators that do not withhold anything because they feel that 100% of that board approved money should go 100% to the art programs. We have some schools that they read that fine print and they go, okay, well, guess what? I'm going to hold that 10%. I'm going to use it for not things like pizza parties or anything, but more like school supplies that the district currently doesn't fund the school for, and they need to use it. But we also have administrators sometimes that withhold more. And part of that has just become a kind of a snowball effect historically. And they needed a quick reminder that they should only be holding maximum 10%. And so the best that I can tell you is that when you are provided the amount of money that is currently in your budget, from your bookkeeper. And my suggestion is that you go and ask. You're going to look at the math of how many 1st through 5th grade students that you have, and remember that you get half of your money now and the other half-ish of your money in January. And then kind of see whether that number kind of makes sense that's currently in your budget. And if it is not, please remember that you must advocate for yourself first by kind of approaching your administration. My suggestion is a great way to kind of approach and advocate in a non-confrontational way is kind of asking as opposed to telling. So my suggestion, and a good piece of advice that I've shared with many other teachers, is maybe finding out what that number is from your bookkeeper, checking out how many students you have 1st through 5th grade, and then taking that number, multiplying it by $3.25, dividing that in half. And then if that number is not close to what is currently in your budget, maybe just approaching your bookkeeper first. And then if that doesn't work, your administration, and saying, hey, I'm kind of confused. Can you share with me, because the max withholding is 10%. If you still do not get enough support from that, or changed based off of that, you can certainly reach out to myself. But remember that I cannot advocate with your administration until you have advocated with them first. Nobody likes surprises. So we certainly don't want it to be a situation where you come to me without having a conversation with your administrator first, and then it's a big surprise, and then kind of people are a little upset. So remember that they don't have to withhold any money from you, but the maximum is 10%. You need to advocate for yourself first, and then please reach out to me for more support. So I have, I mentioned that they give you half now. They may give you slightly less or about half later on in January. And remember, because that is based on the number of students 1st through 5th grade that you have on the 20-day count. If your enrollment is up from last year, then you may be getting a little bit more in January. If your enrollment is a little bit down from last year, you may be getting a little bit less in January. But my biggest suggestion is that you need to use your money. It's very frustrating when you have people that are advocating for you to get funding for your art programs. We are drastically underfunded based on what we could use that money for our students. But I will tell you that with our surrounding districts and throughout the state of Florida, there are many districts that get zero funding for art. So that $3.25 per student that we get, please use it. There's nothing worse than them looking in February at your budget and how much you have spent, and it isn't what you have been begging for, or what myself as the district liaison begs for our students is, and for you guys as advocacy, and then you don't use it. And then that means that you don't need it, and so they use it. So please use your money. Use it wisely, and I suggest that you kind of wrap up your spending by February, because that money could be pulled. Now, what I can tell you also is that every month I can request, and any administrator could request information on how much you have spent in the district and what your current balance is within your art account. No school can call and ask for another school to see how much they've spent. But because I'm the district supervisor, I can kind of see everybody's. And this is what we don't want to see. We really don't want to see that, by February, that we have schools that still have $1,200 in their art account. I've had art teachers that have kind of reached out to me and been like, I know I want to use it, and it says that I have this much money in my account. But, like my principal says that I don't need to worry about it. And, I get everything that I need. And you know what? If you get everything that you need, great. Okay, then you're kind of a special situation, and if it says that you still have $1,200 in your art account, but at the same time you have everything that you need, and you're not just asking for construction paper for the entire year, and you still have substantial art projects and experiences for your students, wonderful. What I am more concerned about is, especially for the sake of advocacy, those schools that have $1,200 in their bank account or in their art account, by February and they're not using it. And then that happens for a couple of years because for whatever reason, they're only using the same, crayons over and over again. And then that certainly does make that principal want to say, well, if they're not going to use it, then I'm going to spend it. Also, from an advocacy point of view, it looks like we're not doing anything in there. So we also want to make sure that you're kind of more like the person down at the bottom that was super spendy and only had 80 cents left in their account by February. So just something to kind of think about. Quick reminder about ordering supplies and materials. Wonderful vendors that we have. Staples is fast. So if you need black Sharpies by Friday and it's Tuesday, order through Staples. Okay. If you need black Sharpies in 2 weeks, order from Saks or School Specialty. And if you need Sharpies in like 1 week, maybe Blick Art Supplies. So sometimes it kind of depends on what you need in a pinch and what you're more patient for as to what vendor that you want to use. Vendor information, including any kind of discount codes, is under budget and materials and equipment in our art ed resources and tools. So if you have questions about, especially like the Blick discount code, you might want to go ahead and look in there. Another reminder about ordering clay. If you're going to be ordering clay for your students, your bookkeeper will create a requisition and then order that clay for you with your art budget money, and then it will be delivered directly to your school. So high water clays, they kind of make sure that we get a ton of stuff already in our district warehouse, so we don't have to kind of sit around and wait around for that. So if you need clay, do not go to one of those other vendors. You're going to want to talk to your bookkeeper about creating a requisition, and then they will order from the warehouse. This is my quick disclaimer, and it is July 25th as I pre-record or as I record this pre-recorded session. And as of right now, there has been no district information that has been officially provided about sharing or not sharing supplies in the art room. I have reached out. I have not heard anything back yet. So the best that I can say is, as of this recording of this presentation, this information has not been officially shared. However, if it is shared as a professional study day, it will be linked in the general information portion of our Canvas course. So if that information has been shared, keep an eye out, and I'll make sure that that link for the reopening plan is put in Canvas under general information in this Canvas course module. Kiln support, quick reminder. I do not have supplies at the district level for kiln support for elementary. And a lot of people kind of ask why, because I do have it for middle school and high school. The curriculum for middle school and high school is more dependent on ceramics. So historically, when the supervisor has asked for budget support for kiln repair, it has been for middle school and high school because of their curriculum dependency on ceramics. Elementary is not necessarily dependent. There's always the fail-safe of the air dry clay, or just having that tactile experience, but not going through any kind of like glazing and firing process. However, if there are leftover funds for whatever reason, we can try to make it happen. So here's what my suggestion is for you, is if you have a kiln that is in need of repair, you're going to contact your principal, and your principal is going to work with their bookkeeper to make a service call to Summit Kilns, which is Peter Adesi, our kiln guru. And Peter will come out and he will do what he needs to do with the kiln, excuse me. And then your school will pay for that kiln repair, not from your art consumable supplies budget. It is equipment, and your school has funds in equipment repairs, and that is where that funding will come from. Now, if everything is easy peasy and that's great and everything is smooth, wonderful. If you get, if you do not get support at your site level on, fixing your kiln, and you need to use the kiln, and no one will come out and fix, or they say they don't have the funds, then you can certainly reach out to myself or to Kylie Hingle, and we will make sure that those funds are taken care of for you. But again, that's kind of like a last resort, and based off of whether funds are kind of left over after supporting those middle school and high school art programs. But this is what our general process is. A few more logistics. Life happens. Last year, a lot of life happened for a lot of people. And a lot of people had to make really, really tough decisions, both during the middle of the pandemic or before, because of either themselves or family members, their own children. And so, everybody has to make kind of hard decisions. And in the end, your health and your happiness, and the happiness of your family is what is most important. And we joke about if mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy. But if you guys are not happy, and you need to kind of make a hard choice to kind of step away or to take some time off, or transfer from one site to another, I completely understand. And I am never one to kind of pry and ask for anything more than just kind of the courtesy of letting me know, so that way I can support the art program of your school when you make those decisions. So if a decision needs to be made, you need to take some time off or you need to leave, the best thing I can ask is to either reach out to myself or to Kylie Hengel to let us know, so we can kind of support your art program. Also, if you're going to be out sick one day or whatever, please keep some plans handy, okay? Just so that way I don't get a phone call from a principal at 7:45 in the morning of I need lesson plans because my teacher is out sick with a broken tooth. It's funny, but it's true. So it has happened. So please just kind of be prepared as best you can, and please keep open communication with me, not because I want to be nosy, but just because I want to help. Mailing procedures. If you have a blue bag or a brown portfolio, and you are going to be sending me anything else aside from that bundle of 3, please make sure that you have one of those that you can send me stuff, whether it's for Youth Art Month or the Native American art competition or LEAD or something else that the district is collecting on behalf of a community member. Please make sure that you use one of those so that way I can pop your stuff back in there and send it back to you. Sending me something that is covered in duct tape is terrible on my nails that have already been kind of chewed down to the bits. But also then I have to find other packaging to kind of send your work back with. And then the last thing I want to say is deadlines are for real. If you put something in school mail, plan for it to take a journey of at least 3 days to get to me. If it shows up the next day, fabulous, but let's not count on it. So if we have a deadline of December 4th, I believe it is, for our elementary bundle of 3, please make sure that you are putting it in the mail no later than 3 days beforehand, or you're going to take a trip down to Rosac and you're going to drop it off. All right, just because and I try to give everybody the last possible minute because I know that life is crazy. But if you get it to me after the deadline, I cannot guarantee that it will be in a show. And that also means that broken hearts of babies, and nobody wants to kind of share that information with those kids. Units and allocations. So I'm just going to read this verbatim because it took me a little while to kind of write this out as thoughtfully as possible. So in spring of 2021, HR readjusted elementary units and allocations based on student enrollment. The outcome of these decisions district-wide, so not just for art, music, and PE, but for classroom units, K-12, are many more of our elementary specialist programs being paired, ensuring that teacher contracted hours are spent servicing 1st through 5th grade students per FTE. We had some schools that where teachers had huge blocks in their schedule, and they were either being pulled for reading groups or things that were not within their content area and what their expertise is, or kind of open spaces that they weren't being used for. Whereas we had other schools where teachers are kind of, they got 10 classes a day and they're 30 minutes for lunch and they're 30 minutes for planning, and they are being run ragged. And this decision, although it shook the world, trying to kind of look at it from a logistics point of view, did make sure that teacher FaceTime with students for their specific content area and expertise was kind of utilized according to contract. So there will be more than likely fluctuations of enrollment noted on the 20-day count of this year, after the previous year enrollment dip due to COVID and other virtual options. So last year, art student numbers did go down. But because we no longer have e-learning and the only options students have are either Hillsborough virtual or to come back brick and mortar, we anticipate our enrollment numbers coming up. So after the 20-day count, HR will reevaluate student enrollment for each school, 1st through 5th grade, and notify administrators and pairings may shift slightly. Okay, so if your enrollment goes up, and right now you're currently at 4 days at one school and 1 day at another school, and it goes up just enough to add 1 or 2 more classes, then you may end up being at your school 5 days a week. Now, if you have gaps in your schedule, then that's where kindergarten could be added into your schedule. That all kind of depends on what that enrollment is going to look like after the 20-day count. Please advocate for yourselves with your administration if you are doubling up classes. Please, please, please do this, but please be patient and flexible until the 20-day count and shortly after for HR to consider these changes. Okay. End of the year assessments. So if we really think about it, we have a ton of students that have never taken an end of the year assessment because we didn't have end of the year assessment last year or the year before. So this year, all art, music, and physical education end of the year tests for 1st through 5th grade will be back online. So we won't have any of those ratty paper tests that have been scribbled on and erased on a million times and are covered with cooties. We will be going back to online testing. To accommodate all content areas, because remember, district and state testing will also be online, and there's a slew of different tests that different demographics of students have to take. Specials testing will begin the Monday we return from spring break. So if you need to mark your calendar, please do that. That's March 22nd. Okay, that's technically a Tuesday because students don't come back that first day, I believe. And so you may want to kind of look at your pacing guides and consider your review options during kind of the end of February and the beginning of March. And there will be some information sessions on administration in School City and protocols and best practices, and those will be held in February of 2022. So we will definitely make sure that you get all the information that you need. I'll be working with the music and the PE supervisor to make sure that there's a module in Canvas or a course in Canvas that has everything that you need in there to make sure that you feel confident about administering those tests online. All right, so I'm quickly going to kind of go through this. I talk about this every year, the unpleasant reality that it is not a state mandate that we have art in elementary. And right now, every school in the district, every elementary school in the district has an art program, and it may only be 2 days a week because there's only 14 homeroom classes at that school. But currently, every single elementary school offers art, but that is a slippery slope that could easily break any year. It is completely up to the principal to say, well, you know what, we're going to offer something else instead, and that can happen. So while there's we just want to make sure that we just like those middle school and high schools programs that kind of see it more because it is based on student enrollment and interest, we want to make sure that our art programs are really, really strong. And so that means that advocacy is really important. And I talk about this and I talk about it every year. It's kind of silly, but at the same time, it's something for you to think about. You are the personification of art at your school. How many times do you have a student that doesn't remember your name and you are art lady, or you are the art man, Mr. Art? And there are times where you are in a faculty meeting and you are this special person that nothing pertains to you because they're talking about things that have nothing to do with what it is that happens in your classroom. But at the same time, you are the representation of your content area. So if you fall asleep in that faculty meeting, or you're the one sitting in the back with your arms crossed and you're kind of grumpy because nothing in that particular meeting pertains to you, that is an attitude or a vibe that technically art is kind of giving off. at that time. If you are a team, team player and you're flexible, and you're making sure that art is in the hallways and art is seen, and everybody has a bad day, and everybody, not everybody's job is going to be perfect. We all know that. But at the same time, just consider, how you kind of represent yourself as the integrity of our content area. And we have to fight for the advocacy and the importance of our content area regardless. You take on a huge responsibility when you are an art educator, because you are representing not just the standards and the curriculum that the Florida Department of Education tells us that we have to teach, but we are representing the importance of passion and student opportunity, and providing students opportunity with personal voice, and all of kind of that magic that we have in art. And as much as I can kind of try to advocate that at the district level, and when I'm out in the community, it really does trickle down to how you represent our content area in your school with your site administration, and your faculty members, and your parents. So my suggestions are just, be present, present yourself, and, you don't have to be anyone's BFF, okay? But at the same time, art should be, just as a professional. You are flexible, and you're approachable, and you're a team player. Present your curriculum. And, this is where, not that you have to put on a dog and pony show, but at the same time, if somebody comes in your room, let them know that you're, sliding in like your math skills, or, this is important for social emotional learning. A lot of the visitors that we have in our classrooms, when we have conversations during our art shows, or if you have a parent that is talking about, what our students are learning in art, these are all things that we know our art programs do. It's kind of like breathing. Like, we know that we breathe every day, but a lot of those people don't know. And so they don't know until you tell them. And sometimes just kind of adding that little bit of extra information, kind of throwing it casually in a conversation could definitely make a difference of, your legitimacy, and what it is that you do is empowering your students. Make it, let your administration know, or let the ESE or the support people know at your school how you're making accommodations for your students and differentiation. And how you are, those little things that you're doing to assess your students, every single time that they're in your classroom. It doesn't need to be a test. It doesn't need to be turning in a project. Just being a good listener is assessing a student. And then the last thing is make a fuss. Make a big deal outside of your classroom. We make fusses inside of our classroom all the time, and we, get excited about, students and aha moments. But we see that every day, and not everybody outside of our art room sees it. So, make sure that student artwork is visible. Your accomplishments and your students' accomplishments and your strengths are visible outside of your art room. That also includes participating in any kind of events that the district may offer. I can't tell you how many times we have had events or participation, and I run into a principal and they go, "Oh, is my school here?" And I can't always say yes. And so, anytime that I can say yes to a principal and say, "Oh, yep, if we walk right over here, we can see, your school's artist, and, let's look at this piece of artwork." And that is a feather in a cap. And we're the entire bird. Okay. So, you just want to make sure that other people see the magic that you're doing. All right. So this is kind of reiterating, the more that they see them, the more that they believe. And if we have students that are excited about art, then we have parents that are excited because their babies are excited. Also remember that your students grow up to be adults that either support art or don't. So we want to make sure that our love for art is contagious, because then it trickles, So these are our three events that it is an expectation that each art program participate in. So this is the Tampa Museum of Art. It's only one piece. The Fine Arts Festival at the Straz this year, it is 2 pieces, and the Florida State Fair, which is 1 piece. So out of all of the wonderful pieces of artwork that you work with your hundreds of students at your school, I only need for you to turn in 4 pieces of artwork. And HAEA has helped us out by making sure that each of you has a white padded envelope today. So that way you can make sure that it is loaded up by early December. And this information is also in, just below the general information in the Canvas course that you logged into today, with deadlines and more information. But these three events are huge community events for us. They get a ton of opportunities for parents in the community to see what it is that we do. Your administrators, come to this a lot and kind of search for their school and the artists from their school. This is kind of an expectation. We are also aligned with the district strategic plan and community involvement. And this is kind of how we show our legitimacy to the district on making community connections. There are tons of other opportunities available. And I'm going to also kind of make a note down here at the bottom. Please note the other opportunities that I have posted on this Canvas page underneath, including tag art, which is something new from the Hillsborough County Tax Collector's Office. It is for 5th grade students through Title I at Title I schools. And then the Hispanic Heritage poster contest or bookmark contest. More information should be coming for that. And then Empty Bowls, which is out in our Plant City area, and that is for specific schools. But please check that information out as well. All right, so new communication and sharing ideas. We have done a lot of technology shifting, and Teams is kind of like our new first class where we can chat. There's sharing of information, swapping supplies, asking questions, event announcements. The calendar function for deadlines is going to be utilized. And then also all of you have moved from first class to Outlook. And Outlook is great, kind of navigate, if you're not familiar with that, navigate how you can kind of use that in the calendar function and a ton of other things to kind of help you feel a little bit more organized. But I do want to kind of remind you that it is a professional expectation to check your email and Teams pretty regularly. There should not, I know that we're busy. I know that there are times where we don't even get to sit down during lunch, but you need to kind of get into the practice of checking your email at least once a day, only because there are times where we have people that miss deadlines because they don't read their emails for like a couple of weeks. And there's just too much information that is shared from the district level on top of what your school shares. And you need to make sure that that's kind of like a professional priority. So please, please, please kind of, if that's not already kind of your thing, to kind of, get in that habit, okay? So the Art of Education Flex snapshot, these are all the different things that they kind of provide for us. And you should have gotten login information already from our school success manager. Her name is Cindy. And within AOE Flex University or Art of Education University Flex curriculum, they have lesson plans, collections, artist bios, like simple snippet 1-minute videos on the color wheel or different artists or whatever, downloadable resources. It is super easy to search for a standard or a grade level or experience level to find lesson plans and all these things. And it is also Florida standards aligned. So when we use our grade level curriculum maps to kind of identify, what every third grader needs to know, it is so easy to find all of the wonderful goodies that are in there. It is going to be so great. And I'm so excited that we're kind of moving in this direction because this is a wonderful, wonderful resource. So with that said, just like any other resource that you find, out in the universe of art lessons, we have district expectations. And those expectations are making sure that in any learning experience with a student that they are getting assessed, they are being provided ample opportunity to ask questions. They are provided opportunity to know what it is that the expectations are for their learning, gradual release, because we have several different learners that learn different ways. And not all of the lesson plans that we find out in the ether have all of those things that our district expects in order for our students to be successful in art. So although we find that the flex curriculum that the Art of Education University provides it does not hit every single thing that our district expects. So when we have teachers that say that they found really cool art ideas on Instagram or Pinterest or Deep Space Sparkle, those things don't cover all of the district expectations either. And what we certainly don't want is for us to just find a cookie cutter lesson out on Instagram or Pinterest or Deep Space Sparkle, and then just kind of do it in our classroom because our students are not getting everything that they're supposed to be getting in order to really learn and experience our content. So we're creating, or I've created something that's called an extension plan, okay? So our extension plan is kind of an additional source to anything that we find out in the ether of art lessons, and making sure that what our district expectations are covered. And these are our 7 district expectations. So we must make sure that within each lesson there is some form of art criticism. It could be a blip of 2 minutes of students practicing, describing, or analyzing a piece of artwork, but it really should be in there. Gradual release steps. We know that students learn best by seeing somebody, asking questions, listening to think alouds, but having being able to see not just a finished product or a list of steps. So gradual release steps are definitely an expectation. Some kind of cultural or academic connections, and kind of being intentional about pointing those out. Higher order thinking prompts. All right, when we're asking our students questions, it should not just be regurgitation of steps or vocabulary or who an artist is. But why did you make these creative decisions? Or how did you get to this point? Walk me through your thinking. So if you're not including higher order thinking prompts in your lesson plans currently, or you find other lesson plans out there that don't have those prompts in there, we want to make sure that we have them in there. Creative choice and decision making. And this is a big one because when we look for inspiration out in that art education ether, that oftentimes it is okay, step 1, step 2, step 3, now you have a bunny. Step 4, step 5, and now we have a rainbow. And now everybody has a bunny and a rainbow. But that's not part of critical thinking and creative problem solving, which are 2 of our big anchors in art education. And so we want to make sure that with each lesson that we're providing our students, that they are being given opportunity for creative choice and decision making. Nobody's picture and bunny and rainbow should look exactly the same. If a student has to turn their paper over and find their name in order to know that it's their piece of artwork, then we are not giving them chances for making creative decisions. Ongoing assessment opportunities. In what ways are you assessing students throughout the project or throughout a lesson, and not just an exit ticket at the end to see if they've learned something? And there's a ton of different suggestions that I've kind of provided for you to kind of pull from if you don't have any tricks up your sleeve already. And then the last one is student reflection. At the end of a project, it shouldn't be, okay, we're done, what are we doing next week? But more of, okay, so we have gone through this journey of creating this project, and we've gone through making creative decisions and thinking about those choices that we've made, and we've made connections with the real world, and we've talked about art criticism, and then we need to give students an opportunity at the very end to kind of process and reflect on their own learning, and that's a lot of what our social emotional learning is too. So these are the 7 aspects of what are going to be on our extension plan that we're going to fill out today as we go through and experience the different lessons currently in AOEU. So there is a link on one of our tasks later on today that has this document. And what you guys are going to be doing is there are specific AOEU lesson plans within their lesson bank that have been assigned to each of your hubs. And within your hubs, if we have Mango Elementary that has 8 teachers there and they have 4 lessons that they need to make sure that they look through and cover, you guys are going to work in pairs. So you and a buddy are going to pick one of the lessons that are assigned to Mango Elementary, and you and your buddy are going to kind of sit through and go through that specific lesson in Flex through AOEU. And you're going to see what all it is that they have there, but then also you're going to complete this extension plan of what each one of these 7 different essential areas would look like for that lesson plan. And when we think about this, and I have my little disclaimer at the top of this extension plan, is that this is not just for the Art of Education University lessons. It's for any lesson that you find out in the art education ether and you want to bring back to your own classroom. Okay, so the purpose of this is for us to practice getting inspiration and gathering it from places, even if it's some of our old ones that we have in our archived inspirations in Canvas that I kind of, scavenged from first class from, I don't know, 15 years ago. That you want to make sure that we are hitting all of the marks. So that way, as you present something that has inspired you as a lesson plan, we're making sure our students are getting everything that our district expects for our art programs. Okay. So once you're done with these, like I said, in groups of 2 at your sites, you will complete 1 HCPS extension plan for 1 flex lesson plan. So you're going to discuss with your partner, you're going to consider different ways each of these elements, the 7 elements, could look in the art room with that corresponding flex plan you're looking at, and you're going to complete the form. And then you're going to submit it, okay? And there's a link that is part of that task in Canvas, and you're going to kind of submit this extension plan. And all of these extension plans throughout our 14 hubs that you guys are doing in pairs are going to be collected and put in Canvas as an additional kind of substantial resource for any of the AOE courses that or lessons that are being provided. Now, remember, like I said, these lesson plans, they're adding more and more of these lesson plans every month. That's part of our having a contract with them. So over the next 2 years, they promise to add additional lesson plans and resources every single month. It will not be an expectation for us to get together every single month and make sure that we have a matching extension plan for all the ones that they add after today. However, this is going to kind of get you in the groove of, oh, I found this really cool lesson on Instagram or on Pinterest or through Deep Space Sparkle or wherever. And I want to make sure that it's as meaty as possible so our students are getting the full advantage of art education through our district as opposed to bunnies and rainbows. All right. So once you guys are done today and you have submitted this plan via the link that I provided, we're going to take all of these and put them in Canvas. So that way, if you find a lesson through Flex, through AOEU, that you go, let me find the corresponding extension plan to that to give me ideas on what those essential elements of our lesson should look like in my art classroom. So in a nutshell, tons of talking, and I appreciate you guys kind of hanging with me. In a nutshell, you are supported. We have colleagues, we have different associations and community members, and our vendors through AOEU and Davis, and all of the resources that we have on Canvas. New resources, AOEU Flex and your extension plans that you guys are going to work on today. And I promise to get those up probably within the next week and a half. Kylie and I will work really quick, so that way you can have those ready to kind of start planning your year. Procedures, remember kilns, ordering clay, make sure that you spend your money, and that also if your money looks a little low, that you kind of do the math and advocate for yourself first through your site. And then mailing artwork and deadlines. Advocacy and events, you are art. So you know why art is so important in the integrity of art education and changing a student's life and their learning. Take pride in that and be the personification of that integrity. And then also the events for student opportunities. And that's another part of our role, is kind of providing opportunity for our students. And then the communication that we have through Teams and Outlook and Canvas, and use those resources and check them often, because we're updating them as soon as we get information to share with you. So before you continue with your day, because it's going to be a really busy day, but it's going to be an opportunity for you to kind of work with colleagues and kind of dig in and see what all our new resources are, and then process those resources, and then we're kind of going to accumulate them all and build them to build our capacity together. You're going to learn a lot, and you're going to learn, it's really important for you to kind of lean on your colleagues, but also I appreciate you guys more than I can say. Last year was a really, really hard year for everyone. And for many of us, it was just kind of putting our blinders on and getting to the end of May. And it was easy for some people than others for whatever reason, but it was hard for everyone. And I just want to share how much I appreciate you all, and especially those people that they're coming back fighting and they're ready to make this year the best year that it can be for our students. Because in the end, we are one of the very few reasons why we have students that come to school every single day. Nobody wants to miss an art day, and you guys are a lot that has to do with that. And I just appreciate you. So have a wonderful day. You can certainly communicate with me through Teams if you have questions, but also remember that those survey links are a great way for you to provide me kind of condensed feedback, so that way I can get back to you guys and look at needs assessments. So happy 2021 Professional Study Day, and I will chat with you all soon.